Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Early morning broadcast. Just want to follow up on what we discussed yesterday. Yesterday, I talked about how Bitcoin was rapidly surging towards 117K, and it looked all but certain that it would happen on the 11th of July, 117. About a year and a half ago, I talked about how the next major milestone for Bitcoin will be 117,000, and that was right after it hit 72K on the 72nd day of the year, which we had lined up in the sites a few months before it happened. And we'll come back to that in case you forgot. But I told people at that time, I said, when it hits 72K on the 72nd day of the year, that's when you're going to want to pull out because it'll probably fall back and then eventually it'll climb again. But we talked about how, the next future milestone would be 117K. I wasn't sure at the time when it would get there, but you've seen it surging, and it surged again on July 2nd. If you go back and look at how it performed that day, 7.2, Bitcoin 72. It's a number it likes. If you don't know why, we'll get to why. But here's why 117K on 11th day of 7th month matters so much. And I think this reveals what's really behind Bitcoin, this super secretive cryptocurrency. If you look into the history of the CIA, who have an affiliation with this 117 number, the CIA, for starters, has a statue outside of its headquarters called Kryptos. But also, in 1970, the CIA partnered with a German man who was into cryptography who ran the company AG Crypto. And it all makes perfect sense now. Sometimes you need to watch all these things unfold to really put it together. But for years, I've been here showing you how Bitcoin is this controlled currency. It's not we the people's currency. It's not dictated by what ordinary people are doing. It doesn't have anything to do with any of that. It's this controlled thing that moves ritualistically, just like everything else at the highest levels does, by this Kabbalistic code of letters and numbers. Again, the federal government works this way every day. And let's put this all together. So again, Bitcoin surges past and up to 117K for the first time ever on the 11th of July. The majority of the world writes the date 11/7. And notice that from supposedly Satoshi Nakamoto, Mr. Bitcoin, who nobody knows if that's even a real person, his birthday is what, the 42nd anniversary of Roosevelt making the big call on gold with Executive Order 6102. But notice, today is 97 days after Satoshi Nakamoto's birthday. 97 days. And crypto's 97. And again, this man that partnered with the CIA, who ran Crypto AG, Boris Hegelin, look at what day he died in history. He died on September 7th. The date can be written 7/9 or 9/7. And look at what day he was born, July 2nd, 7/2 or 2/7. Over the years, if you've been here, I've talked about Bitcoin in 72 more than anything. But yeah, it's just like, wow. So here we are, this major milestone for this currency on this date, 97 days after Satoshi's birthday. And keep in mind, 97 is the 25th prime, and here we are in 2025. 2025 also has a square root of 45. And look at Nakamoto's birthday, April 5th, right? 4-5. If you're new here, the 4-base ciphers of the English language, they are the alphabetic order. That's why there is an alphabetic order, because of this ancient practice of coding numbers into words known as gematria. But A is 1 up to Z is 26. The alphabetic order with numerology. The reverse alphabetic order. Z is 1 back to A is 26, and the reverse alphabetic order with numerology. One of the greatest Bitcoin rituals of all time was on Valentine's Day, the 45th day of the year, 45 weeks after Nakamoto's 45th birthday. That was a while ago now because he turned 50 supposedly this year, but just things we've been talking about over the years, and we saw that one coming a mile away as well. So yeah, we're going to read this article in just a moment. Why did the CIA, NSA create cryptocurrency? We're going to read this. This was published a little more than a year ago. And just notice in Gematria, Central Intelligence Agency equals 117, right? Central Intelligence Agency 117, Bitcoin 117. This history of Bitcoin partnering with the man who ran Crypto AG, who just happened to die in history on 9/7 and with the 7/2 birthday. And the statue Kryptos in front of the CIA's headquarters, it was put up November 3rd, 1990. There's a lot to that. We've covered that in the past, but the statue's 34 years old. It'll turn 35 later this year. Just notice how Kryptos and crypto both equal 34. 34 is the ninth Fibonacci number. 45 is the ninth triangular number. 9 is interesting because 9 represents the sun. The sun represents gold in alchemy. Gold is money. Keep in mind, Donald Trump, who has all these crypto connections as we've covered this year, he just turned 79. The 79th element on the periodic table is gold. And he said we're in the golden era. And again, take a look at Crypto AG's guy's date of death. Can be written 7-9 as well, like the 79th element on the periodic table. Trump came into office at age 78, just turned 79 on June 14th. Cryptocurrency equates to 78. And in case you're not up on Ripple Coin also equals 117. Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of that, just presented it to the Senate the other day while Bitcoin was really surging. But yeah, the CIA does use Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for numerous purposes. And here's just the thing that blew my mind this morning. Composite numbers are a big part of this Gematria study that we've been overlooking for all this time. Shout out to Zenith of the Alpha. He said about a year back that we need to start incorporating composite numbers. He's pretty sure there's something to it. I noticed right away there was, but it's just like, God, I got a baby right now. It's harder to learn things when you're lacking sleep. But look at this, you guys. From the day that Bitcoin launched, January 9th, 2009, to it hitting this milestone today on July 11th. In the US, we write it 7/11, right? It's National Slurpee Day. And by the way, do you hold on. Do you guys know, just quick, now I'll come back to the tangent on 7/11 and Slurpees and Gematria in a moment, but you guys might, if you're newer here, you probably haven't seen it because I haven't talked about it for years. But anyway, look, 861 weeks on the nose, right? 861 weeks. It's the 41st triangular number, which matters. We'll come back to that. It's been 41 years and change since Boris died. But here's the bigger piece. It's the 711th composite number. 861 is the 711th composite number. So exactly this distance in time to July 11th, Bitcoin hits 117K for the first time. Well, listen, I need the guy who came out into Portland smoking cigarettes, telling me I'm wrong about Bitcoin, that it's the people's currency, it's not controlled. I need to stop putting out this misinformation. I need you. By the way, this guy was smoking cigarettes, invested in Bitcoin, and couldn't afford a book, so I gave him a free copy of Number Games. This was the real scenario. Now I'm starting to wonder if he was a CIA agent because he's never called in either. But he was out there and God, I was just like, does anybody else want to come out here and talk to me besides the guy who wants me to start getting on board with promoting Bitcoin because it's the thing that's going to free us from the corrupt Federal Reserve and federal government? Where are you? No, I told you the whole time, this is a lure to hook people on digital currency because that's what the state wants. So they can keep surveillance on every last thing you do. And again, I've been proving my point all along. That guy didn't really bring any proof that day. Just his own intuition told him that Bitcoin is the truth. It's the thing that's going to set us free. Looks like another thing that people are ritually sacrificed for as well all along. We'll come back to that point in a minute. But yeah, seriously, you don't think this looks controlled to you? And what have I always said? The CIA was established in a Jesuit ritual, just like the Jesuits set up camp in Washington, D.C. before it became the federal city. This country was created during the 41-year suppression of the Jesuits. And I realize I wrote months here. It was years. The Jesuit suppression lasted 41 years. Look at this. From the big day for the Jesuits with the Roman Catholic Church, September 27th to today is exactly 41 weeks on the nose as well. Of course, USA equals 41. Again, this country was established in the time of the Jesuit suppression. 41 is the 13th prime number. Think about all the 13s all over the dollar bill. Think about the Federal Reserve headquarters and its 12 branches. 13. You know, there's a lot of 13, right? I mean, 13 stripes, 13 colonies. CIA is another 13 forwards and forwards with numerology because they're both made out of single digit letters. C's the third letter, I's the ninth, A's the first. So CIA's got the 13 connection. And this poor guy right here with the 7-2 birthday, he died at 91, by the way, which is the 13th triangular number. He died shortly after the Police and Sting put out the song Murder by Numbers in 83 when Murder's 83. You know what else I just dawned me about 83? 83 is the 23rd prime number. And look at the CIA. Look at the CIA values. We just covered the 13, right? We're about to talk about how he died on the 68th day of his age, and his company was partnered with the CIA. And he died in 83, which is the 23rd prime. So, but yeah, from July 2nd to September 7th, 68th day of his age, born on 7-2, Bitcoin and money 72. You know, the de facto name in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. And this is why, you know, when Bitcoin did hit that 72K ritual on the 72nd day of the year, and then it actually went up to 73K on the 73rd day, but then it came collapsing down to 50K. Remember, I told you it's going to go up to 72, and then that's a good time to pull out because it'll have a little reset. That's the way markets work. I'd seen more with Bitcoin in 72 than I ever have with 117 because we're in unprecedented territory. So I don't have a call right now other than what I said yesterday that I've been saying for a while that, you know, it looks like the next major milestone is 117, but we'll see where it goes from here. I know the Bitcoin enthusiasts have been saying for a long time that it will eventually reach 150K. And again, where's 150 get its significance? Illuminati's 150, which was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, like the CIA was established in the Jesuit ritual on September 18th, 47. Heliocentrism, you know, the model that was established in the 16th century that says the sun's the center of it all, the sun in gold, or the sun is gold in alchemy. But again, heliocentrism has that 150 connection. Of course, heliocentrism also has the 201 and 69, like the Jesuit order. And Order of Illuminati has the 201 and 93. They say the sun's 93 million miles away on average, or 150 million kilometers away on average. You know, Bitcoin, when everyone thinks of it, they think of those big gold coins with the B on it. But yeah, the 72 also goes with the sun because the sun moves 1 degree on the astrological wheel every 72 years. So, yeah, let's read this article real quick, and then I'll go back over the history of the CIA establishment and the Jesuits. For people who don't know that, I've probably covered it 1,000 times in the last 5 years. But why did the CIA NSA create cryptocurrency? The backstory. Having been involved as a developer with cryptocurrency since circa 2014, I have witnessed its evolution in the transition from a backwater playground of nerds to... Hold on, I want to make sure we're good here. Shout out to whoever gave a 99-cent super chat. I appreciate that. Of course, the information I gave out yesterday could have done well on that because it still had a ways to go to get to 117, but here it is. Anyway, I've witnessed its evolution in the transition from a backwater playground of nerds to the very mainstream appreciation and the coining of the general term crypto. I have been forever irritated by the slang origin of the term and what it stood for. Having heard it throughout from a very mixed bunch of interested or detached acquaintances, it bugs me to a degree of withdrawal. I think he's talking about, Ashkenazi types, how they're often referred to. Yeah, I oftentimes glance at information sources covering crypto as an expression of the ideological support I have for the ecosystem. With that at hand, my book reading is quite diverse and almost never touching technical or technological matters. Thus, I recently came upon Spies, the epic intelligence war between East and West by Calder Walton. That's what the book looks like. Intelligence work has always fascinated me with its secrecy and implausible seriousness. not to mention the often gimmicky and hilarious ways of the persons involved. This has not been my first Cold War anthology with the events pointed not quite novel to me. Reading, however, is very temporal, and you have different highlights independence of your situational context. The book got me to a chapter describing the stunning Operation Rubicon, Operation Minerva, if one asked the German intelligence. A genuinely funny depiction of an otherwise brilliant intelligence initiative that has affected the course of world events for no less than 60 years. It concerns a company under the name Crypto AG and the CIA. To make a long story short, here's a chronological order of events that put the world's sensitive messaging SIG in the hands of the Five Eyes Collective. A company is founded in the 1920s called AB Cryptotechnik in Sweden. The company founder dies and ownership shifts to an early investor by the name of Boris Hagelin. Again, that's the man who was born on 7/2, died on 9/7 on the 68th day of his age. 41 years and change ago. World War II starts. Boris Hagelin moves to the U.S., where he tries to find business for his enterprise. It's interesting how World War II ended in 45. Again, the Jesuit logo, if you're not familiar with it, look it up. It has the letters IHS for Jesus Hominum Salvator. IHS equals 45. Of course, both the world wars were essentially instigated by the Jesuits. Just like Lincoln blamed the American Civil War on the Jesuits, the Revolutionary War in the U.S. broke out on the anniversary of their superior general being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church. The Jesuits are the ones who've controlled history, and everyone's missed it because we all go to slave school for 13 years and we don't learn anything about anything that matters, including Jefferson and Adams warning about how the Jesuits could subvert the United States of America, only for them to die together on the same day, July 4th, 1826. And then the next most outspoken president against the Catholic Church dies 1,826 days later on July 4th. You don't think they've been doing these number games the whole time? If people don't know who the Jesuits are, it's because your slave school upbringing. They're the ones who gave you the calendar that says today's July 11th, 2025. They're the ones who are responsible for the language English as you know it. They're the ones responsible for a lot of things as you know it, including your education system. That's why the word school equals 72. They're the ones that have made you into a dumb, useful idiot. And a lot of people have trouble swallowing that pill, but that's almost true about every person living at this day and age, where the only thing smart is their phone. And by the way, the Jesuits run big tech too. All right, after World War II starts, Boris Hagelin moves to the U.S., where he tries to find business for his enterprise. A contract for 140,000 cipher machines is awarded to the company. He becomes friends with William F. Friedman, who in 1952 becomes chief cryptologist for the NSA. Boris Hagelin's lawyer, Stuart Hedden, on the other hand, becomes deputy director for the CIA. The company is moved to neutral Switzerland, most for tax reasons, and renamed Crypto AG. Remember the Templars, the Jesuits are the modern-day Templars. A lot of the Templars fed to Switzerland, the land of the bankers. Of course, the biggest bank scam on humanity just happened under the time of Jesuit-educated chump, where they printed a lot of money over the 99.9% survival illness because they had to mess up the world and tell everybody to stay home. Couldn't even go to church. The CIA outright buys Crypto AG in 1970, since Boris Hagelin is getting of age and the cooperation built is too valuable to seize. I want to go back and figure out what day that happened, if that information's out there. I'd like to know what day the purchase was made. In a Washington Post investigation of 2018, the connection is finally unveiled between Crypto AG and the CIA. During the whole existence of Crypto AG, the inner workings of the encryption machines have been carefully vetted prior to selling them to parties in more than 120 countries. Initially by ways of friendly cooperation between Boris Hagelin and Friedman, and afterwards as the business primary goal. I personally find it insanely hilarious that government actors across the globe paid hefty for what were basically Trojan horses. When I started with cryptocurrency, again, this is this man's article, it was viewed as a very private and obscure transaction mechanism. It was apparent that the blockchain was public, yet the exchange to fiat and forth did not intrinsically link one's identity to his activity. This, of course, caught the attention of actors with versatile intentions. Organized crime, terrorism, corruption, tax evasion, extortion, to name a few. KYC was persona non grata in the early days of cryptocurrency transactions. This has changed dramatically in the last decade. The ecosystem has been through a lot of iterations, many of which I support, yet projects like Dash, Verge, Monero have found themselves systematically suffocated and suppressed for the greater good. Ransomware has been a great driver in regards to de-anonymization, which I again support. Yet it couldn't help but dawn on one that this may just be the perfect context for an entity that loves a glance into the world's private exchanges. And even if it is a coincidence, the outright similarities in naming are undeniably entertaining and not dissimilar to the seldom unimaginative ways of intelligence agency coin monikers. Is the CIA Satoshi Nakamoto? I would not dwell into conspiracy for the world and have no answer to that. Even more so, I refuse to believe it for ideological reasons. Now, remember this whole crypto surge when Trump comes back at age 78. Of course, he was number 45, right? Cryptocurrency, 78, right? Trump comes back at 78, crypto's just booming. And he was number 45. And again, Bitcoin's got the 45. Satoshi Nakamoto with the 4-5 birthday. The Jesuit acronym IHS 45. 45 is the ninth triangular number. Trump has that commercial from over a decade ago before he was president the first time, talking to Digital Sheep 11 and 9, saying, looking good, number 9, looking good. And again, 45 is the ninth triangular number. The day that Trump was called president the first time was November 9th, 2016, the fall of the Berlin Wall anniversary. And it was the 27th anniversary. And notice how ritual equals 27 and 45. You see how Berlin Wall also equals 63? So does CERTA. He did the ad talking to sheep for CERTA mattresses. 2016 is the 63rd triangular number. Means if you had 1 through 63, it's 2016. It's also 72, like Jesuit order and President Trump, who's Jesuit educated. But, yeah, I'll go out and say what he did. Yeah. It's the federal government and no doubt the CIA at this day and age that's responsible for this kind of ritualism. No doubt about it, especially since they have the big old crypto statue that's a whole bunch of letters with hidden words within the letters and numbers in the statue. So, yeah. Again, quick recap if you got here late. Yesterday's live stream, we talked about how Bitcoin was surging and would likely reach this symbolic mark of 117K on the 11th of July. Exactly what it did. And today is 97 days after Satoshi Nakamoto's birthday. Big crypto number. 97 is also the 25th prime. It's been a big pattern. So this is obviously a major milestone for Bitcoin today. And again, Central Intelligence Agency that has this long history with Crypto AG, Central Intelligence Agency 117, again, has the statue Kryptos, which is 34 years old and change right now. Kryptos equals 34, like crypto equals 34. That's the ninth Fibonacci number. By the way, 2025 is a 9-year. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 is 9. And again, CIA does work with it. But this is also the monster right here. Bitcoin launched on January 9th, 09. From that day to today is 861 weeks on the nose, which is the 711th composite number. 7/11 is the date. July 11th as we write it in the US. 11/7 is the rest of the world writes it. It's also the 41st triangular number. And again, I've always said Bitcoin's controlled by the Jesuits. Their suppression lasted 41 years. This country was created in that time. From the big Jesuit anniversary being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church to today's 41 weeks on the nose. In USA, 41. 41 is the 13th prime. Big CIA number. The man who ran Crypto AG died 41 years and change ago, and he died on 9/7. And he was born on 7/2. And he died on the 68th day of his age. Partnered with the CIA. 68. You know what else? He died 13 years after the CIA bought his company. He died 13 years after the CIA bought his company. How about that? And he died in 83, which is the 23rd prime. One more time. CIA's got the double 13 connection. 13 years after buying the company, on the 68th day of his age, in the year 83, which is the 23rd prime number. And again, murder equals 83. Murder by numbers came out in 83. Dead at 91, the 13th triangular number. Yeah, that 7-2 birthday. Again, Bitcoin and money, 72. Lots of Bitcoin rituals with 72 over the years. And now this. And the Washington Post has this article on how the CIA uses Bitcoin and other cryptos. If you want to read that article. It was published on the Vatican's birthday. Again, the Jesuits serve the Vatican. February 11th, 2020 is the post date for that. Again, just about the CIA. Their motto is the work of a nation, the center of intelligence, which equals 201. Just like in Central Intelligence Agency, United States of America, the words in their logo equal 201. The CIA was established September 18th, 47 on the 201st day of the sitting Pope's age. National intelligence equals 201, like Catholic Pope, like the Jesuit order. And if you're new here, the Jesuits have a very long history with 201 from their beginning up through recently the first ever Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, whose birth name Jorge Mario Bergoglio equals 201, who was the first to live in Suite 201, and the name of the building, Domus Sancti Marte, is 201. It was built in honor of Pope Leo, the last one, who died on the 201st day of the year. And again, the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius Loyola, his name's 201. And from Martin Luther penning the 95 Theses to the Jesuits being created was 201 months later. And when the Jesuits were suppressed, they were preserved in Russia by Catherine the Great with 201 Jesuit priests, and on and on and on. Donald Trump, Jesuit educated, just sacrificed his ex-wife in a major 60 ritual for the 60th election and then buried her on the 201st day of the year. Beau Biden was sacrificed 201 days before the Pope's birthday at age 46. And then Joe Biden's elected number 46, exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. And the same Jesuit priest who did Beau Biden's funeral did Joe Biden's inauguration. And his name's Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, which equals 201. And he was the former head of Georgetown, the first Jesuit university established just before George Washington became the first recognized president in U.S. history, even though it could have been other men before him. But again, who controls the history books? The victors, and that's the church, whose military is the Jesuits, who no doubt run this nation, and things like the CIA, including your crypto. And don't forget, the Ripple coin's another one of these 201s, and Brad Garlinghouse has a whole bunch of 201 rituals to date, as we've covered. And he was just speaking to the Senate about XRP, who has a lot of the old Bitcoin people on its board and other big powerhouses in the financial world. Brad Garlinghouse used to be with Bitcoin. Again, Howard Hunt said the greatest intelligence agency in the world is the Jesuits. I was gonna, by the way, Executive Order 6102 is signed by FDR, April 5th, 33. So Nakamoto's birthday is the 42nd anniversary of that date, April 5th, 75. And that means he turned 50 this year, a special number, a jubilee. But 42 is an interesting number. Jesuits 42, Georgetown's 42. The 42nd president was a Georgetown grad, old Slick Willie, Bill Clinton. And remember, they'd always call him the first black president, and Jackie's 42, like slavery, like Tuskegee, like a bunch of other things connected to black history. That's because he played the saxophone on Arsenio Hall. But what Arsenio Hall, what was it? Woo, 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 woo. I forget. Is that what they did on Arsenio Hall? I forget. I was a kid. Everybody was doing that in the 90s and saying, you can't handle the truth. That was the other thing I remember about the 90s. Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth. Poor guy out in Portland. Bitcoin's the people's currency. Maybe he died from a heart attack from one of my videos from years ago, between the smoking and fantasies about Bitcoin being the people's currency. Here, let me pull up this one. 7-Eleven secret history gematria forward. It's the forward that writes this article right here. He's just gonna close out this one on National Slurpee Day. The secret Jewish history of 7-Eleven. Remember, the Jesuits are a Catholic Jewish alliance. When you walk into your local 7-Eleven, this story was written 8 years ago. Where did the time go, you guys? We covered this story when it was new. God, 8 years already. When you walk into your local 7-Eleven today and get your free Slurpee, this being July 11th or 7-Eleven, or as it is celebrated everywhere, 7-Eleven Day, consider for a moment that the convenience the store brings is based upon gematria, or the hidden meaning of numbers in Judaism. So, we thank Seth Rogavoy for that article. You can read the rest of it. It's at the foreword. But, yeah, if you guys don't know the history of the world, which almost nobody does because they're too busy watching rig sports and cartoons and playing video games. Again, this country, the United States of America, it was largely created because of the Protestant Reformation. People were trying to escape the tyranny of the Catholic Church that wanted to control everything and take everyone's money through indulgences and whatever fines and fees and collection plate. If you think about how this country, how they don't tax churches, who do you think is really running the country? I mean, just think about that right there. It almost tells you everything. But again, we get this fake history that we traveled across the Atlantic and we got free of what was going on in Europe. No, we didn't. They just sailed right over here, right behind us, and they set up their little camp in D.C. And then before you knew it, they moved the federal city to their camp, and then they moved Inauguration Day to January 20th, the 201st day of the nation's age, which can be written 20/1. And they've been running the whole thing ever since. And the more time goes on, the more and more they control you and the less and less free you are. And digital currency, this blockchain, this tracking every last thing, it's them. And it's so obvious it's them. And, you know, you have all these half-truthers out there, the Jeff Berwicks of the world and stuff, promoting this like it's some great thing as he gets a Showtime show made about him, or was it HBO? These are the controlled opposition in the truth community. And, you know, Jeff Berwick, about a couple years back, I was in his live chat, and he was getting all red in the face and all heated and talking shit to me through the chat. A lot of you guys think these guys are truthers. Jeff Berwick's a fearmonger who has no clue about anything, and probably another one of these chosen ones who was put on the Bitcoin thing. Again, all these people have lied to you. Sure, you might have made money, but you also helped establish the hype for the system that will enslave us all. And that's why I've chosen not to invest in any of the crypto to date. But again, I'm not going to judge anybody who does. There is money to be made. And the game is rigged, and you can take advantage of it. You got channels like Waters Above Crypto who learned from me watching years ago how I was showing how the crypto market was rigged, and he launched a profitable enterprise for himself using this gematria knowledge to gauge crypto. I was told, though, that he was one of the people telling people it was going to surge to 150K when I was telling people it was going to hit 72K and go down, which is what it did. So he might be charging for his information, and there's a reason it's not as good. It's because he's not the guy who figured this out, but... Again, I'm not going to judge you. I'm just going to tell you exactly what this thing is and why I have refrained from it. And I know I'll get the typical comments, oh, but you promote gambling. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking advantage of rig sports. Some people do, but I don't feel like taking advantage of rig sports is helping build the slave surveillance state either. So that's my stance. You're entitled to your own opinion, but please don't leave dumb comments and dumb arguments because you also cannot explain how taking advantage of rig sports helps build the slave surveillance state like digital currency does. So anyway, I got to get back to work. I wasn't planning on doing a stream this morning. Thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. Shout out to Mr. Phillips with the big dollar. Appreciate it. All right, you guys, please do hit the like on the way out. We don't even have 100 likes. How can there people not be hitting the like on this video? Are you guys, is it because you guys are, is it butthurt Bitcoin boys? Is that what it is? Hit the like, you guys. Let the truth set you free. Until next time.